Hey guys, welcome to my play and explain video. First hand, trying to make it an interesting one. We'll be calling the small 3-bet with 8-7 suited. Okay, maybe won't be quite as interesting as I thought. This is a very good board for him. The big blind 3-bet is supposed to be a very polar 3-bet, so he'll be 3-betting a lot of the worst hands, like high-low suited cards, like Queen 6 suited and stuff like that. uh, along with just the very, very best of hands like aces, kings, ace, king. However, I don't think this specific player is actually running those, so it's usually just good hands. However, he does choose a smaller 3-bet size, so I think that's actually more indicative of just a wider 3-bet range in general, which is shown by him 3-betting more often than in theory. And I think my hand makes a pretty good b75 as a bluff. He has a lot of king x that doesn't have a heart in their hand, so that feels pretty bad to a b75 on the river. And obviously I lose to a king, so checking down wouldn't be as good as bluffing myself. Even though I had a pair there, it's all just about his range and how he has a bunch of higher pairs that still beat my hand, which means it's still totally valid for me to run bluffs with pairs. Oh wow, that's brutal. Just turned him dead. Um, go. Funny name. I will open 9-8 offsuit if it folds to me. Fortunately, it didn't, but I did open Queen 6 suited from the cutoff. In theory, the worst suited queen you should be opening from the cutoff is Queen 5 suited. However, I just like to play the game, so I'll be opening a little bit wider than that, especially when there's fish behind. I definitely enjoy playing more against fish, so I'll just, open more hands. Facing a third, I think calling works the best here. I'm pretty sure this player is fairly aggressive, so if I, for some reason, get 3-bet on the flop, then I'm feeling pretty terrible. You're not supposed to just call flush draws out of position facing a turn bet, but when he bets so small, I think it's okay. That's nothing to do except check. Can't really donk on that card. It's a pretty big brick for all intents and purposes. And I think that the missed flush draw is very visible, so I would be getting snapped off here if I put in a raise. I don't think that's a great spot to raise. Facing bet bet. Very interesting. He doesn't bet too many aces on the turn, unless he has an ace of heart hand. I just got a bad feeling about that one. I think this player specifically is under bluffing quite a lot. Trips is nice. He is a cutoff opener though, so he still does have hands like King Jack, King 10, Ace King, King Queen. I don't think he has any of those hands now though. He chose to bet a third on the flop, which I'm pretty sure is just... Actually, he might be able to have a third sizing. I just personally play a big bet on this flop, cutoff versus button. And now I'll be putting in a pot size bet myself to get called by a good queen, hopefully. Or any queen would be nice. I'm going to block as a bluff here. I would also block with any 9x that I had or 10x and some flushes that I hit. I'll call ace 8 suited to a big blind 3-bet. Block works well as a bluff because you don't need to make it work that often. It's already doing pretty good. Sorry, I meant if you bet like a small amount as a bluff, it only needs to work a small percentage of the time. So oftentimes blocking is the best play for bluffing. It's very spot dependent and depends if your opponent's range is condensed to more nothing or very good hands or middling strength hands. It's better to block if your opponent has very good hands or very nothing hands, because all the nothing hands will still fold to the block, and on top of that, you lose the minimum when they do have one of those good hands. Royal flush draw. I'm not going to be betting though. My hand has some amount of showdown, pretty minimal, but really no point in bluffing, especially with the 10 of hearts, which is a very nice card. We'll likely have to call a bet with the second nut flush draw and a gut shot. I think I'm going to be calling Mr. T here. I don't think he plays too many kings like this unless he has a two pair kind of king. And I think that he bets a lot of jacks like this, like he might do pot with a hand like queen jack or 10 jack. And I will definitely not be calling river, so I guess we never get a reveal. Oh, he could have just had two pair. So I guess my read was right, but he didn't feel like value betting his effective nuts. Nice. I would have called this person's bet on the flop, or sorry, on the turn, but after Wahoo Walu calls, I can't. I only call in that bet because it was a smaller bet. He's not bluffing that often. He does have some clubs though, and he is overvaluing some hands like ace nine, but it's definitely not a slam dunk call even if Wahoo Walu folded. Queen Jack doing nothing multi-way. Queen is nice. I will be betting this one myself if it checks to me for 5. Want to get protection. I think Eric Dwan is just telling us his hand since there's a fish in a pot that he wants to call from. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold. I don't really think he's doing this with the bluff considering Mr. T is in the pot, and I think that Mr. T likes to call. So it would be a little bit crazy if Eric Dwan was bluffing that. Unless he had a read that Mr. T would fold and knows I am understanding this thought process, so just wants me to fold as well. Because there is a fish in the pot, he has a little extra fold equity when he runs a bluff like that. I still think that it's a reasonable fold even with top pair though. Kings, 3-bet me one time, skills versus luck, or skill versus luck. This is not a great board for kings with no spade, but what can you do? There's no really, like, you could bet for protection here, but I don't think that's the right way to think about it. It's just about considering how much equity you have. And when you get called in a flop, oftentimes you don't have a lot of equity. They have like pair plus flush draw type hands that you're just only 50-50 with. On a super giga brick, I'm just going to bet 5. This is much better for me now because there's only one card to come. So flush draws feel a lot worse. I guess that was a decent time to bet. That flush river would not have been nice for us. This is interesting that... Oh, we did not have a straight flush. No bluff from OVOVO. 8 big blinds. Unfortunately, I think I have to call this once more. Do I? No. He has so many ace X that's like a better flush draw as well. I don't think he's ever bluffing that spot. With like king, queen with a single club. So I think my hand is just a reasonable fold. Best case scenario, even if he was bluffing with some hand like king, queen with a single club, I still only have 30%. So when you factor that in, and then how he has value most of the time, overall, I have not enough equity to call in that spot. Tens is typically just a call from an under the gun raise. I'm not sure how it affects it since he's only got 30 big blinds, but I assume it would be pretty similar still. That's a pretty bad card for us. Obviously the king is very nice for the under the gun opener, so we will be just checking it over. Oh, very nice of Dur to find the... Oh, I guess you have flush draw as well, but ace-2 makes a good bluff there. On the 4, he checked on the queen, checked on the king. I'm going to get quite greedy and just bet one big blind to get a call from an 8. or a 9, I guess. I just don't think he has a lot of kings or queens after checking twice. King, queen suited, I can call from the big blind. I might be able to raise at some frequency, but it is a standard call. Usually your big blind raises want to be more polar. Ace 5 is a pure call versus a small blind raise. Against a button raise, Ace 5 is often 3-betting. This player has a valid 3-bet range. They're not only 3-betting aces and kings, so I can run the 4-bet. And I always like to run my 4-bets to a smaller size. 8-5-4, I think I'm typically betting ace-king for a quarter pot here. Especially with the heart makes it a bit nicer. Pretty standard play. I have a really big range advantage to the small blind on pretty much any run out. Not pretty much any run out, that's a bit much, but I definitely have a range advantage. I will also bet a quarter again, trying to get folds from hands that are under pairs to the jack. He's thinking, no donk jam, please. After he checks that quickly, I don't think that he really ever has the ace of hearts, so I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to just jam for value here. Otherwise, what am I jamming besides the nuts? Hopefully he doesn't snap me off with ace of hearts, please. Okay, that's nice. I think we might have rivered him there. Sorry about that. Forend. Ace 9, even though it looks like I have nice spades to be betting, I just have too much showdown value. This is too middling of a hand to put in a flop bet, I think, for the most part. It's better to bet some of your worst offsuit aces in spots like these, like ace 3 offsuit, ace 5 offsuit, especially one of those hands because they have a runner straight revolving around the 4. Facing a third, I have the 9 of spades in my hand. Nice card to have, I think. I'm pretty indifferent already, but I'm gonna call. Cutoff versus it's just a fold. I can raise so many suited king X on hijack boards. Hijack versus small blind. Also facing 7.5. I have the 9 of spades in my hand, which also blocks 10-9, though he wouldn't be taking the sides with 10-9 anyways. Block ace 10. 6-8. I think he has enough single overcard, like single spade overcard hands that are bluffs. He has it this time, but I don't think it's an unreasonable call with ace 9. Might be a slight overcall, but who knows. Cannot see this run out. My point was going to be that a 9 high flop as under the gun is definitely not a range bet for me. So I'm just going to be betting bigger because of that. Facing a third, and probably just fold. 3 overs is not a great spot to be in when you have an under pair. $1.3. There's some merit to min raising a bet like that because he'll just fold all of his absolute air, but occasionally he'll have a flush draw that he won't fold, and then I won't know whether or not to follow through on the river because sometimes he will just have a random ace. Gonna be leaving this table though. Both Eric Duong and OVOVO are good players, so I would rather play against not as good players. I would be putting in a B75 here. Blind v blind, he should be calling with some 9x. That is one of the 9s that he has to be calling, so it's good to go thin for value. Going thin for value doesn't mean going small with your value bets necessarily. Just means that you're going to value bet, not always the super nuts. Ooh, pocket ace my first hand. I was playing on this table a little earlier apparently and didn't do too badly. Hopefully we keep up the good luck. Not a terrible flop for us. We do have runners straight. Too bad we have no 8 of diamonds as well. Definitely have to call this flop bet. I think that's a custom type size unless he has a 40% button, which is an interesting note. Nothing really to do about it. 6-4. Pick up a little bit of equity. Just going to be checking. Now he bets. I'm in an interesting spot now. I think I'm going to put this into my bluff raising category and raise him to 22. I don't really have any real bluff raises on the river here. I have some 2x that I just made trips with, and him not betting on the flop makes me think he didn't have as strong of an ace. So if he had something like ace king, ace queen, ace jack, it's likely he would have bet on the flop, but since he didn't, he's more weighted towards weaker aces that don't mind checking the flop and calling a bet. King queen, I ran the 3-bet on 8 queen 3. I think I'm going to check to Wahoo Walu, who is very capable of bluffing. It's important to check some decent hands. Keep your checking range protected. Good to have both check raises and check calls with value and bluffs. Very important to keep all of your different ranges balanced. On the 2 of clubs specifically, I think my only play is an overbet here. Maybe not my only play, but my size is an overbet. The 2 of clubs is a huge brick. And I think my hand is just good enough to put in the overbet. I think this is the worst hand I would be overbetting with. He has hands like jacks and tens that check on the flop that should be calling an overbet on the turn, along with worse queens like queen jack suited. He does have ace queen suited, but I think that most people will bet their ace queen suited after being checked to on the flop, so you can pretty much not fully eliminate it from their range, but take away a few of the combos. It's important to think of like actual combos and weighted combos. Like maybe he starts off, I have a queen in my hand, there's a queen on the board, so there's 2 queens left, 4 aces left, so there's 8 real combos of ace queen, offsuit and suited. But then when he checks, maybe there's only like 2 weighted combos because he bets ace queen 3/4 of the time on the flop. And so when you take that into account, then you can start running the overbet with king queen because you're still losing a very little of his range. And sets on the flop like 8s and 3s would also be checking, but I think very, very infrequently checking. I think 8s and 3s love to bet. Like people love to bet strong hands, and sets are absolutely no exception. I realized I was slightly yapping and I missed my range bet on king 9-2 after opening under the gun. I might get punished for that on the river. Nope. The question is, do I put in a bet myself? No, he will have some 9x that he's checking down. Yeah, I think that might have been just a little bit too greedy for me to do that. I also can't call this bet. Ooh, can I? I have a second nut flush. Yeah, I think I have to actually. I can just fold now. He doesn't really have double barrel bluffs on that board, I don't think. And if he did, all of his bluffs would be King of Hearts bluffs, which means that I'm just drawing effectively dead, unless I hit a pair or something. It's often not a good spot to call if you're also losing to your opponent's bluffs, obviously. Twos for the set mine. That's not a great set mine. Did I ISO king 5? No, I just raised. Multi-way, king high board. I think I'm good to bet a quarter here and see what transpires. I think the fish to our left doesn't 3-bet enough, so they will have stronger kings often. Wahoo Waloo calls the flop bet. Jack of spades. Pretty bricky. Does give like king jack a 2-pair, but that's about it. My hand is not good enough for any more value. This feels like he has some ace-7 or 8-7 hand, but he also does have traps and better kings. So it's not really worth it to target just something like 8-7, 8-9, ace-8 in this case, when it's likely he wouldn't call a bet anyways, and I do get punished if he does have a trap or a better king. Ace-queen 2 is a very solid range bet for 25% for me. After 3-betting small blind versus button. On 10-10-4 with king queen, I'm going to run a raise. 2 overs is very nice, and people over c-bet these boards as well. King king 8 over here, I'm just going to run a third. This is almost a range bet for me. These paired king boards are very good for the button raiser and big blind caller configuration. Nice that our quarter got through. I would be betting a quarter with every single one of my hands in my range, but he still can't be raising too much to exploit me because I just truly have such a range advantage on that board. On the jack of diamonds, I think I can run b75s or overbets for 125, and I think my hand likes to overbet. I have no club in my hand, and I can get called by still strong kings that are worse than me, like king queen, king 10. Ace on the river would be nice. Would not like to see a jack or an 8 if he calls, because that means we're chopping with any other king. I think it's likely he would have raised 8s on the flop. Now, a very quick check. I don't know what to think about a very quick check. I think it means it's likely that he doesn't have uh, a flush. So I'm just going to b75 and hope to get called by some kind of worse king. However, if I do get jammed on, I will not be calling. I'd be taking this same line if I had pocket 8s myself. King 8, king jack. So he can't go too jam happy with bluffs. Yeah, that sucks. Maybe the snap check on the river wasn't a flush, but a full house. It's possible he hit something like king 4 suited, even though there's only 2 combos of that. That really sucks. I'm not making this call, though. I don't think this player is bluffing this spot, like, effectively ever, or at least nowhere close to what they should be in theory. And on top of that, that's actually the main point. And my hand's just a bluff catcher, I guess. My hand doesn't beat any value that would be jamming on the river when there's a flush completing river. I'm going to bet 5 here to get a worse king to call, and then fold to any raise. Eric Wong. Oh, he raised me on the flop. I didn't even notice that. That's funny. Makes sense. He's blocking the flush completing turn. Still have to just call. Just checking back. He could have same hand. Or he could have threes. Interesting bluff. I'm a little surprised he didn't follow through on the river for an overbet, because I just have so much random king X that will fold without a club. Maybe he thinks that I'm just a big calling station, so we didn't want to run it. Call with the 10-7 of hearts. Very nice open ender and flush draw. We have so much equity against any hand he has, really. King is interesting. I think I'm going to block bet, get him to fold out a lot of the ace high hands that he'll bet flop with, or queen high hands. It is possible he hits a king, so bluffing for a bigger size isn't worth it, because if he has a king, he'll call this block, or he'll call a b75. So blocking is a better play. I'd also be blocking hands like ace 9, ace 8. Ace 8's a little thin. I'd be blocking any 9 in this situation that I had, along with any rivered kings. He puts in a small raise. It's pretty interesting. I think it's probable that he just hit a king. And I also think I'm going to raise him again, because I don't think that raise is super indicative of a two-pair hand like king 9 or king 8. And I would also be blocking hands like that on the river. I think this is reasonable just based on the sizing he picked. If he finds a call here, I'll be very impressed. But I think since he raised me to only 12 in that spot, it's really just screaming that he hit a hand like ace king, king queen kind of thing. And those hands are just purely bluff catching in that situation against a line that's super under bluffed. I don't know if you ever tried calling somebody down. The bluff catch on a bet 3-bet, but typically it doesn't work out so well, at least from my personal experience. But yeah, that is definitely an underbluff line. So if you know that the player you're playing against knows that it's an underbluff line, and you start to overbluff it, then you can make a lot of money just because they're going to be adjusting in the wrong way. On the 7 of diamonds here with ace queen, I'm just going to be overbetting my hand for 175% pot. I want to make any ace feel pretty bad in a spot like that. So I think that he'd be calling any of his aces to that bet still, and he doesn't have ace king because I didn't get 3-bet, so I'm only really losing the boats. And he didn't raise on the flop, so it's very unlikely he has a hand like pocket 8, so in reality, the only hand that I lose to is something like ace 8 that's trapping, or if he just turned ace 7 or pocket 7s. I'll be running the 3-bet with ace 10 in this spot. This is an over 3-bet without a doubt, but as I've talked about a little bit previously, I just love to 3-bet and 3-bet more than theory does, just because I think people make many mistakes in 3-bet pots, so I have a little bit of an extra edge in those situations. 10 is nice. Definitely can't be blocking here because he has so many aces. Oh, very interesting. I don't know if I would have bluffed river either. I'm lucky I hit that 10. This is just a fold as well. I think Kaku Sharma. Oh my gosh, that's funny as hell. I was just about to say I think he's severely under 3-betting the big blind. He has you can't see it on your end, but 4% 3-bet, and typically people really just under 3-bet in general from the big blind. I think this is still too strong to fold in this configuration. I don't feel too good about this because I was just talking about how he's under 3-betting, and that means that he has way more like ace king in his range. Like he won't be 3-betting stuff like worse aces like ace jack or ace queen necessarily. I feel like I might have gotten lucky here. Maybe he doesn't have ace king. And anyways, I'm just losing my stack in case if he does have ace king or aces or kings. but I'm going to be potting it to hopefully get called by some sort of ace, like ace jack or ace queen. People don't like folding, so he might even call with something like king queen if he has ever 3-betting that. That's okay. Facing 2.5 with the pocket fives, I think I had to call. That's why you have to call him value catching against a 4. That's funny. When players use very small sizes, oftentimes they bet. Depending on the player, some players will bet any pair for a very small sizing, even if it's like bottom pair. So you just have to be cognizant of how each player plays their small bets differently and then adjust accordingly. Well, wow, he raised fives. It's an interesting bluff. He kind of ran into it this time. That's pretty unfortunate. Brutal. Threes on this board. I would typically call once, but this is such a weird configuration, and this guy has not 3-bet yet this game, so I'll just fold. I think I'll have one more interesting hand and then call it a stream. I like to keep it around half an hour long when it comes to the play and explain videos. Makes it, consistent and gets a good amount of hands when you're playing 5 tables. Typically, if I'm just, grinding 200 and L by myself, I would play 8. So 5 is a nice change of pace, but it really feels like a speed up when I'm trying to go through all the hands that I'm playing and explaining my thought process. A jack 4 of clubs. I'm going to start bluffing if I get checked to by Great Gray Owl. No check, so I will only be calling this bet. I don't think I'm bluffing river either if he checks to me. I think he does trap sets enough. And I think that can takes up a lot of his betting range on the turn, his random 5s and 6s or 2 pairs like ace 10, ace 5, ace 6 if he has it. Doesn't matter, just a snap fold. 10 on the turn, going to be checking. I do have ace queen here and queen 9, which should be noted from the big blind, but still not really a bet for me. Just a call. Face an overbet. I think this is just a fold. It might be supposed to call in theory, but OVO knows that people hate folding full houses, so I think he was just targeting some kind of 3 that I had or could have had. And facing this bet, we have nothing to do but call. I don't think there's too much merit in raising because he has just better 2 pairs. That's reasonable enough. Especially after the flush completing river, though, I can't be raising Jack 10 there. That's just too thin, in my opinion. Hopefully, the solver would agree with me on that one. Ace on the river. He is a under the gun raiser, looks like, so he hits the ace a lot, which means I'm going to be putting in a check raise, just hoping that he's betting his aces. Oh well. In a spot like that, I don't think he's calling a lot with queen 10, so it's just a better play to check raise for an ace instead of trying to bet really small and target some kind of 10x hand. Calling once with the super nuts shot. Unfortunate. Okay, I'll call this king's my last hand. Gotta make sure that I don't monologue for too long. Want to make it somewhat entertaining, not just boring. I hope you guys are enjoying as well, by the way. If you have any comments, suggestions, questions, tips, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys thought of this video and what you guys think of, future videos like this. If you'd like to keep this going, switch anything up layout wise or anything in the setup, I would love to hear anything like that. Please let me know. Other than that, I think I'll just call it there for the stream. We'll see the reveal or not. If this guy bets again, I'm not calling with my kings. Nice hand to him. And I hope you guys have a good night and enjoyed the video. Take care.